So welcome everybody from downtown Sydney. I'm here today on the TBA author interview series, and today I get to interview or chat with the lovely Tony Holmwood, who's written a great book called Behaviour. And I guess everybody's been on their best behaviour in COVID because we haven't really had an option. But Tony, welcome, and thank you so much for taking some time to have a chat with me about your book journey.
Well, thank you very much, Jackie, for inviting me. What a great opportunity to have a chat and to catch up.
Yeah, and we get
and
to
not
talk
be in
about,
the park.
Yeah, I was going to say, we get to talk about books instead of solving the problems of the world around Centennial Park.
There you go.
Wonderful. So thank you. So for those of you who haven't come across Tony Holmwood yet, you're about to, and he's a very special guy. Tony is really passionate about people development. He's a commercially focused chartered accountant. I'm going to come back to that one, Tony, with substantial performance experience in large local and global organisations, including Bega, Oracle, Fonterra, Energy and American Express. His recent career journey has provided valuable insights into business transformation and change management. Wow, what an area to be in right now, Tony. There's lots of change and transformation going on now.
Oh, isn't there, Jackie? So, yeah, there seems to be a real focus on change. And, in my mind, change is growth. So, the businesses of now and the future, I believe, will probably become a lot more adaptive and a lot more fluid and really push their people to change and adapt.
Yeah, bring it on, bring it on. You're also a qualified motivational, behavioural and change practitioner. Woohoo. In 2019, oh my gosh, I remember when we did this, you launched your book, Best Behaviour, Empowering HR Leaders and Managers to Coach and Align Employee Behaviours to Supercharge Growth. Did you know that COVID was coming?
Well, absolutely not. So, but fortunately, I got the book out of the way and I got it published and I got it launched. And had I known such a transformation would have been on the horizon, I would have probably waited a little bit longer for the release date. But I think it was quite timely anyway. So
yeah, absolutely. And I don't have to say this, but I learned a great deal working with you on this book, and really particularly about your balanced behaviour development model is something that I'd really recommend to anybody who wants to firstly understand themselves, because I don't think if you don't understand yourself really, truly and deeply, you've got no hope really in building and managing a team.
Oh, exactly. And I say this to a lot of people, as you say, to go through that journey, and it's tough for a lot of people. To go through that journey of self-awareness, you learn so much about yourself. But until you reach that stage, you really have no concept of how other people operate. So, and self-awareness, as we'll discuss, is probably one of life's biggest hurdles. So,
yeah, it's fascinating. So I really thoroughly recommend the book. Of course I would, but no, not of course. But anyway, so today really is about your book journey, but I'm sure that we're going to kind of, sort of dive
off track a little bit.
How unusual. Yes, exactly. So what was the motivating factor for you to write and then publish your book? Because a lot of people talk to me about the fact they want to write a book, but they kind of don't get round to doing it.
Yeah. I love that expression that everybody has a book in them. The best behaviour is my life's journey. And I first conceptualized it way back in 2003, actually. I had just finished. Actually, it was finished, to say it blankly. I had worked on a new startup venture, which unfortunately didn't succeed, but I had been pitching a HR sort of insourcing venture to small to medium businesses. So the whole idea and the whole thrust of the business concept was to introduce development and HR practices to small to medium businesses who couldn't actually afford to have a HR presence or a HR personnel. So the whole idea was to package up an outsourced solution. I had worked for Oracle prior to that and worked a lot with HR processes and systems. And so we packaged up a solution. Unfortunately, we probably targeted to the wrong profession to start with. We did target it to the law profession because we felt that they were probably most in need. And we also felt that they could probably afford it because there is a lot of small to medium law firms. And we had approached the New South Wales Law Society. We'd done a lot of work to conceptualize the idea with them. But unfortunately, in the end, we had applied for a government grant and they didn't support us in the grant. I think on the day, they basically changed their mind and thought that we were probably competition rather than a complementary resource. So, I think they came to the conclusion that they probably should have been offering a lot of what we were going to offer anyway. So, yeah, that was quite an interesting period in my life. So at that stage, I decided to basically go through a big transformation myself. I kind of upended my life in Sydney and moved back home to New Zealand and started writing my manuscript. And I pretty much did my first download in about 2003. And
wow.
At that point, I started conceptualizing the concepts within the book, especially around the balanced behavioral development model, because that took a long time to come to grips with. The interesting thing is that it was a time in my life where that model just came to me. It was very much an intuitive. I've always been very analytical, as you define me being a commercial accountant and all. God knows how I got into HR, but I think, it is a lot about the development side and seeing the benefits of providing a complete package of HR, development and also processes and everything else. A big part of what I believe HR should be is coaching. And I've always been a big believer in that. So that's why my book is actually targeted to HR practitioners and teaching them how to actually coach. So yeah.
So that's really interesting insight and a great segue to the next question in a way. And I'd like to come back to how you developed your model, because that's just like it's an amazing thing to kind of do. You haven't just written a book, you've actually developed the whole model. But I'll come back to that. What was the hardest part about writing your book, and how long did it take you?
Well, I first decided, like some 15 years later, I think 2018, to actually complete a KPI course, Key Person of Influence. And that's a business accelerator, practicing the 5 Ps, publishing, obviously pitching, profiling, publicity. What's the other one?
I pass.
It'll come to me.
Oh, that's a B pass.
Yeah.
What are you thinking of?
Productizing. So, building a product around your book.
Yeah.
So it was a brilliant course. It brought me obviously in contact with yourself as well, because part of the KPI community was Michael Hanrahan. And there was an introduction to you as well from Leslie, who I had first pitched my book, and unfortunately she decided not to go with it. It was probably a little bit too left of centre for her. But you were on board, which was the main thing. So in terms of the program, KPI was brilliant. So Andrew, absolutely godsend.
Andrew
Andrew Griffith,
yeah.
You know, very involved in that program, and he was an excellent mentor. I did quite a number of his courses as part of that. You know, KPI is still around, and obviously you offer a very similar program.
Yeah.
And you know, you obviously contribute in your own way, you know, to the KPI community, because I guess we're actually quite a small community in essence.
We are. Yeah.
We are all part of the same sort of business ethic and business accelerator journey. So
absolutely. And my passion is really helping people capture their knowledge and share it with the world. So
so the hardest part of that journey was having to write the 30,000 words, and I ended up doing 60,000 because I'd already written the manuscript.
Yeah.
For me, it was just structuring it and finishing it. It is, as you can imagine, and as you well know, Jackie, a very involved, scientific, very sort of, you know, it's a book that basically needs to be proven.
Yeah, and it's not a light read, you know. I mean, and
exactly.
I say that with great respect, because it's, you really need to be prepared to take the time and the effort to read and understand it, and then seriously reflect on it.
Yeah, definitely. So, and you know, I think I was going through a bit of a transformation at that stage too, in terms of writing, and you know, I was having a lot of fun with it. You know, I would basically, and I found like getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, I was working down in Bega through a lot of that writing time. I was working at the cheese factories, doing some change and transformation. And I found that, you know, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and just putting in 2 solid hours would really sort of help me to get through, you know, that writing challenge. So
and that's another good segue. Sorry, great, another segue, and it's kind of possibly where you were going to head anyway. So over the time that you decided to really commit to the book, to the time that you published it, and then even after, how much time did that involve for you? Is it like an hour a month, you know, a day a week, or, you know, what kind of commitment did you have to make to go through this journey?
It was basically a good 6 months of really solid work. So yeah, I was working obviously at the same time. I was doing contracting on quite an involved project, and yeah, so yeah, I would have to basically put in weekends and, you know, 3 or 4 hours a day before and after work. And yeah, it was pretty solid investment, and working with yourself, Jackie, you know, and structuring the book was a big part of it. You know, just working through the editing, making sure that it was pristine. You know, I had a lot riding on it, and I just wanted it to be the best I could possibly obviously put out there. So
I'm actually going to come back to you on that particular topic. So you talked a little bit earlier about how you published it. Did you have any knowledge of the kind of publishing industry before you kind of looked at that, and how did you end up publishing it, and what was that journey like, you know, working out what to do and how to do it?
Well, I had over the years approached a number of different universities to try and get it published through universities, but I just could not find anybody who could represent behaviour. You know, all of the behaviouralists are pretty much outside of the institutions and academia. You know, I did find, you know, actually Dr. John Martini, who is probably one of the world's most renowned behaviouralists, is a close friend. And through our connection, you know, I basically decided to self-publish. And so, you know, he probably took the academic route, but I came from a very different angle to him. And I was obviously providing or pitching a very different philosophy in terms of the balanced behavioural development model. You know, he has his own sort of model. I was very much coming in from a completely new angle. So it was hard to find people to actually represent it to. In the end, I don't think I had really a choice but to self-publish and go down that.
Yeah. And that's an interesting comment you make. So I was chatting with someone today actually about that whole thing about a desire to get a mainstream publisher to publish your book. And when I explained to them in one, whether it's a university publisher or a mainstream publisher, and then when I explained to them that if you go that route, which is great, you actually cede a lot of control to the publisher because they possibly will change what you want to say and talk to you about your title and how your structure is. And for someone like you and a lot of people I work for, they're really committed to what they've written. They don't want anyone to touch it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So there's a really interesting dynamic.
It is, because I think if you need to do something innovative, I think you need to self-publish. So
really great point, Tony. Really interesting point.
Yeah. And now that I've published, I think I've kind of proven that it is innovative, but it's still, I guess, one of my issues is trying to get wider acceptance of the concept. So that's probably one of the downsides of going sort of along the route of self-publishing, because of course, if you do go through the book, obviously the commercial publishers, etc., they're your tribe, okay, and they obviously have all that network, and the universities have their network.
I kind of interesting that you say that. I have a completely different view about that as well, but that's for another whole discussion. Perhaps a walk around the park discussion. So, and again, another great kind of lead into, so you've written your book, you've printed it, I was at your book launch. How have you gone about marketing your book? And in your looking back on it now and even currently, was the effort you put into your marketing successful, however you measure that? And was there anything that you did that you wouldn't do again?
Yeah. So I employed an agency called Quick Media, Scotty Thorne, if you've heard of him.
Yes.
And he was brilliant. So we had basically, a publicity plan, and we pretty much stuck to it. And he got me introduced to some pretty amazing connections within the industry. So, if you were to Google my name and Best Behaviour and have a look at some of the imagery, I was on all the big podcasts in Australia. I was introduced to the HR director in the UK, who had been one of my biggest followers ever since. And I've written a lot of content for the HR director, who in fact are, I must admit, and they are an independent media company, unlike some of the HR organizations throughout the world, who tend to be, part of, I said that HR media companies tend to be part of the HR governance organizations.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're very protective of, obviously, their strategies and their approaches. Whereas, so
not very openly HR, right? Behaviour, I would suggest, Tony.
Yeah, well, let's take that a bit further. But after we've actually covered this question, so yeah, they were brilliant. Honestly, I don't think I have seen a better book review than what the HR director did for me. So very, very happy, and was very appreciative of what they did for me. And I wrote a lot of content for them, probably for the next 12 months, up to about last year. And I've kind of, at that point decided to, kind of move on to other things. But on top of that, so won a few book awards at the, obviously at the Australian Business Book Awards. Actually, I made the finals, I should say, for marketing and publicity. A finalist, and also within the HR and management area. So yeah,
Great. Great.
And aside from that, I don't think I could have done any better in terms of my book, my first book published. I got great feedback. I pretty much ran the wave of publicity for a good 3 to 6 months, and I think that's probably as much as I could expect. I became like, what would you say, for the CEO world, an acknowledged business writer.
Yeah.
So anything that I write on leadership and HR, which I pitch to the CEO world, is published.
So you really, your books helped you become an authority in this area.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely. So, and in terms of sales, that's been on I guess the marginal side, but it did help me actually get my name out there and the publicity.
Okay. And that's a really interesting dynamic. The balance for a lot of the people I work with is, yes, they want to sell their book, they want to sell as many as possible, but it's not the only thing they're looking at in terms of what they want their book to do for them. It doesn't mean that you don't care about it, but it's not the only kind of goal that you're trying to
it's
achieve.
About being an authority, I think. First, saying your book is your business. Your book is your business card.
Yeah, very much.
So getting back to what we touched on before. I don't know if you want to ask the next question, but if it's somehow related to the industry, and my thoughts on,
but it's not, but far away.
Okay. I probably like David Clutterbuck, who's the famous team coach. And I am certified and a certified team coach through his program. Actually, another thing is that I was actually invited to the World Business and Executive Coaching Summit to give a whole 1.5 hour introduction to my book, and also the philosophy around the balanced behavioural development model to one of the leading sort of coaching organizations, media companies in the world. So that was just brilliant. And on top of that, I did the WBEX team coaching course with David Clutterbuck. And, he is of the impression that HR will be gone in about 4 or 5 years. Okay. Wow. And I kind of agree with him because, when team coaching really takes off, and it will, because there is no better way to engage people in the workforce and to develop people than through team coaching. And if you've got a great leader who is a great team coach, you don't need HR. So, and I think it is honestly the future, and probably maybe 10 years, but I think HR needs to fast come to terms with the fact that they are largely irrelevant, and they really need to understand what is happening to the industry. I pitched to the head of, the CEO of HR, probably over 6 months last year at ARI, the Australian HR Institute. I thought I had sold my view on HR strategy and how things will probably pan out, but at the very last minute, she basically sort of went a bit cold on me. I think it was probably because I put forward a strategy which was very different to hers.
well, and possibly you're a threat, really.
Absolutely.
I can say that. I don't have anything to do with the HR industry, but where you feel that you're under threat because the world is changing around you and you don't have a clear strategy on how you can deliver real value, it becomes challenging, shall we say.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. And, I think that's always been my biggest problem with basically pitching an innovative book is, you really need to try and get your industry on side to something which basically turns their jobs and their roles and, their industry on its head.
Well,
as
not gonna miss you going through, Tony. So that's we're doing particularly well here. So now we've been chatting about what your book's potentially going to do to HR. What's in it? Can you give us like a 2-minute summary of what's in the book and why someone should read it?
Okay, so essentially, as I define in the preface introduction, it provides a complete framework on development and basically proves a succession of behavioral learning through to cultural intelligence throughout the book. So in terms of Myers-Briggs, if people know Myers-Briggs, it's how to learn 16 different personalities. So which is cultural intelligence. It's a completely developed mindset. Judger, perceiver, sensory, intuitive, left brain sort of thinker, right brain, basically feeler, future, inside, outside. And those people who actually go through that full development cycle will basically turn themselves inside out. And that's what self-awareness is. It's basically leading through instinct from the heart and having a completely open mind. So, and what that means over a growth mindset. So more than having a growth mindset, because a growth mindset will get you there. It's all about having an open mindset. And what an open mindset is leading by instinct. So, and that's what my book does. It provides a pathway to actually, learn that cultural intelligence, completely open.
Yeah, and possibly why I learned a lot from it, because I've never done too much internal work, so it's very interesting that you say that. Back to kind of the book process. What's something that you did that you'd advise other self-publishing authors not to do?
Okay, so, and possibly this was a reflection on where I was at. I did something completely innovative, and I think that's part and parcel of me completely trying to disrupt the profession, but also I probably took on too much in my book. It covers a lot of ground, and when I write my second book, and I will, it will focus more on basically a particular area. So yes, as you realize, Jackie, having read the book, I do cover a lot of ground. So, and I probably need to target it a bit more. On top of that, I need to define who my tribe is, and I need to take them along for the journey.
That's a really interesting comment, Tony, because I work with you and I work with a lot of people who have a really strong purpose. And everyone talks about purpose. I mean, your purpose from the get-go was to upend HR. And you couldn't not write the book that you needed to write. It was always going to be a hard sell, I have to say, but that didn't deter you from your purpose, because that was your purpose. So I think you were under no illusions that perhaps a whole bunch of people in this area weren't ready for it or didn't want it. But I think that that your purpose, you've delivered on your purpose, and that's critically more important than anything.
And thank you, Jackie. And part of that was a real sort of internal conflict, I have to say, Jackie, because I being an outsider in the profession and providing an outside view on something particularly disruptive and innovative, but also very different to how they operate. I always felt like an imposter. Okay. And that is something that I've had problems sort of getting beyond. And it's probably because I don't have the backing of my tribe, in the sense that I haven't sort of invested in that. But I really need to sort of check myself in for the next book, and really need to sort of build that community and get people behind me. So and that's a great learning. Because once you feel an imposter, it's always just that little bit harder to get beyond. And and you can basically you can term that as being an outsider. Okay, so it's
so interestingly, so you've got to start building your tribe now, Tony.
Exactly.
And you are.
Which is what I've been doing. And actually, the most amazing thing is like I have developed some great relationships, obviously, since I published the book. One of the people who just came out of the woodwork was my uncle, who just completely sort of has a very similar philosophy. He has just released his book on community sort of philanthropy leadership in New Zealand, which is been sponsored by I think the Lions Club or the Rotary, one of those two. And he's just on the circuit in New Zealand at the moment, obviously pitching that book. But he has been a great help in terms of he now edits all of my articles before I send it off to the HR director or the CEO world. And we kind of started to revisit my book for the second edition, but I then started helping him on his book. So
it's become a family affair.
Yeah, it has become a family affair, but and that relationship has been very, very powerful for me.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you entered the Australian Business Book Awards. I'm actually a judge this year.
Yes, I did see that on your marketing. And well done.
So I've just got my second lot of 5 books to read. So
so what comes with that is a lot of hard work and a lot of reading. So how are you finding the reading?
I'm loving it, actually, because a bit like I love what I do. I'm reading about a whole range of different topics and subjects that I would never normally kind of venture into. That's kind of part of what I do anyway. But
absolutely, I think the book awards are perfect for you.
Yeah,
the business book awards. Nonfiction is your realm.
And tell me. So my question to you, can't reverse the order of this discussion just yet. Was it worth you entering them? And did you get, did it help you at all with your book?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It definitely, any sort of awards you win, which you can put on the cover of your book, have a look on Amazon. My book is there with, both of my awards. So, I'm sure it does help to, obviously, to pitch your book, but also to add value. So it's well worth getting involved in.
Okay, so now we can segue and one question, sorry, before we go, or get on to the really exciting part of the conversation. What's the key message that you would like the reader of your book to take away?
One of the key messages is and I think I touched on this before because, it is now common knowledge for people who seek it out. The journey to self-awareness is life-changing.
Yeah.
And only 10 to 15% of the population get there. Probably because only 10 to 15% of the population try to actually go through what is a very big personal transformation. And, that is that journey is well worth undertaking, because it will turn you and yourself and being in control of your emotions and being able to direct your own destiny is just powerful. And, I cannot say enough about that. And, just walk that journey.
Yeah.
Take the time. And I know some people might find it a little bit scary, but it's well worth it in the end, because once you understand all of those fears and anxieties, you pretty much lead an open, stress-free lifestyle, and you can go wherever you want to go, because the mind is powerful. And just let it do its job. Let it do its job. Don't control it. Free it up, and develop that self-awareness, so you can understand all your instincts, and you can basically open your mind and just live with a view, with one eye to the future.
Oh, wow.
And create your own destiny.
Might have to just bottle that segment up on its own, Tony.
Exactly.
Okay, so now to the really serious part of the conversation. I have a quick quiz that I run past everybody, and it's just top of mind thinking. So don't be scared. So here we go. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
I'm not scared.
No, because you've got an open mind, because we're self-aware.
There you go. I'm ready.
How do you read? E-book or print book?
I prefer print book because, I don't know, I think I've never been used to a tablet, or as an accountant, you get sick of laptops and stuff like that. You just want to sort of take your mind off the screen.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much done it all my life, and it's hard. That is one thing that is hard to change. I do love flicking through pages.
Yeah, I'm the same, but that's not me. Okay, best place to read. Now, I've got two options. You could, of course, have your own. Couch or bed?
Okay. Pretty much bed, but it has to be in the morning. Otherwise, at night time, I will just switch off. I've got to say, it will send me straight to sleep. Most books. It's nothing about the author. It's just
except best behaviour.
Except best behaviour. Exactly.
Okay. Marking up books. Are you a page folder? Do you write in books, or do neither of those things?
Okay. I cannot bring myself to write in a book. Okay, because having written one, but I have never. I've highlighted particular sentences, etc. But I am very much a post-it note person.
Ditto. Okay. Yeah. I think I might have to add that into the question. Reading style. Do you read a few, skip a few, or do you read the entire book?
I read intensely. And, I'm a bit of a slow reader, but, I really want to get into it. So I cannot, I see myself as a deep person. So I want to experience everything that the writer has experienced. So I read every word, every sentence, and right to the very last word. And I do reflect and contemplate.
It's interesting because I'm not sure I was an intense as reader as you, but I read everything because as a corporate historian, I don't know what I don't know. So I figure if I don't read everything, I might miss something. So I have to read everything because I don't know what's coming up. And so I have this, and I say to my corporate history clients, I need to just be like a vacuum cleaner initially. I need to read everything and get everything because I don't know what's there. So I tend to read everything as well. Outside business books, are you fiction or non-fiction?
Definitely non-fiction. Even if I read a story, it has to be based on a true story. Otherwise, I just cannot give it. I've never been one for zombies or sci-fi, or I've always just loved true stories. So true life experiences will always get me every time. So great stories. Same with movies. If it's based on a true story, I'm captured. I'm in there. Love to learn that way.
Yeah. Second to last question about sharing books. Are you a hoarder or a giver?
I've given away a lot of books. Actually, I do have a few books to give away on this session, Jackie. but I am pretty much a hoarder. I like to have those references in my library. So old school. I've still got a very solid wall of books which just sit there gathering dust.
Yeah.
Because I'm more likely to Google anything I need.
Yeah.
Very intuitive. And, I pretty much find instantly what I want just through Google. It's an amazing tool.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, those books are still there.
Writing style, and this is in relation to the dictionary that you use. Do you use Oxford English or Australian English versus US English?
Well, I'm pretty pedantic about my word structures and pretty much how I write. So yeah, definitely Oxford English. So yeah, it has to be every time. Which is basically a little closer to New Zealand English, which is where I'm from, apart from the twang, but of course I don't write that. So yeah, very much Oxford English.
So you're a bit like me. We're called quasies.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Kiwi Aussies, which is quasies.
Exactly. So yeah, a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to writing.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm a gay man, so everything is about kind of perfection and and how you sort of present yourself and obviously try and fit into the world.
Yeah. So which two things which reminded me. Someone wants to purchase your book. Where do they go and how do they buy it?
Yeah, Tony Holmwood via Amazon. And all the major sort of online. I don't think it's in the books, the bookstores at the moment. It was probably for about 6 months, but yeah, pretty much online.
And you have your own website where people can buy it too?
Yeah, sure.
Which is www.tonyholmwood.com.
That's correct.
So they can buy it from you directly, or they can go onto any of the normal stuff.
Yeah,
and you
can.
also you have an ebook available?
No, I do not have an ebook available,
Okay.
Jackie. So
Cool.
that'll be for the next edition.
Just
so,
checking. Okay.
Actually, sorry, I do.
Well, I was looking at the back of your book and it said that you do have an ebook.
Yeah, I do have an ebook. Sorry, Kindle, all of that good stuff. Yeah, I've obviously got to.
Bit out of shape there, Tony, on your promotion.
I know.
Okay, and we were talking earlier. So when you're listening, if you're listening to this, Tony's kindly offered to actually you share your special offer.
Okay, yeah. So I am giving away 5 editions of my book, 5 best books, best behavior. So, and basically, the first 5 people who contact Jackie through however means you can get to her. I know she's got a few contacts via, LinkedIn or Facebook or quite a few publicity channels. So the first 5 people who get their names to Jackie and probably their addresses will be sent my book. Okay.
Fantastic. And can we on a Sunday walk around the park? Can I bring them along so you can sign them?
Of course. Yeah, I'll sign it for them.
Wonderful.
So and I'm happy to have a little get together over coffee if people want that.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Hey, Tony, thank you so much for your time this evening. It is here now. It's been wonderful to kind of, I guess, go back across our book journey because we kind of did a part of this together and we've become good friends out of it as well, which is another great thing. I think that you've mentioned that doing a book actually is a great way to create new connections.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really appreciate our friendship, Jackie, and thank you very much for having it. And just cheers to that.
Oh, well, I've got my wine too. Slightly different glass. Cheers.
Cheers.
And so everybody, please go and have a look at Tony's on LinkedIn, and it's got his own website, and it's a really seriously great book. Thank you for your time and look forward to catching up with you on the next author interview.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Thank you
Absolute pleasure, Tony.
to the audience.